If you ask me about humor, I could look back at my life and it started out, my life with humor, I guess, in the days of radio. Before, when it was television, radio was the big thing. You got your entertainment. You had President Eisenhower getting home actually, that was on television, watching Sergeant Bilko, because they were both in the Army a long time, except Bilko wasn't really in the Army, but in the days of radio, I used to come home from school, from kindergarten. I lived just across the street from my house, so I'd come home and listen to Ma Perkins with my mom, and the lady there was always helping the young'uns out with their problems and solving them for them. As I went along, I listened live, in my opinion, I listened live to what was called the longest laugh on the radio. It was a episode of Jack Benny where he's confronted by a criminal who says, "Your money or your life." And then there's just a pause. It goes on forever. And he says something like, "What?" And then perhaps another long pause. I'm not sure if there are two of them. It might have been, or maybe just one. And finally he came up with something like, "I'm thinking." No, I'm thinking. So funny that Jack would play that role, but he played that role with Mary Livingston and Rochester and the folks on that show. There were other shows. I remember the beginning of some of them. One was The Inner Sanctum, and one of them was Suspense. On any of these shows you can get on a CD and transfer them to your iPod if you somehow learned how to use an iPod, which I have somehow learned to use. Things like Dragnet were on TV. There was a show called The Fat Man, and I think he steps on the scale. I don't think, it might have been 300 pounds, but it might have only been 250, So they weren't used to having as many 300-pound people around in the early 50s. So, anything else to tell you about the radio? Is part of my little story. I told the little story about finding out I was adopted. Listening to a show about it being adopted, washing dishes, wiping dishes for my mom, who turned out to be my grandmother. But anyway, washing the dishes, and they were telling this kid he was lucky to be adopted, and they chose him, and I didn't believe it. It was luck, but like they took the cutest kid. But anyway, I asked her if I was adopted, and she said yes, and I took the dish, put it away, asked her again, was I really adopted? She said yes. I put another one away and determined that I would never ask her again because I was just crazy about her. I thought if you raise the kid, you get to be the mom.